Weight bearing is essentially weight in your arm. So all that means is that you're putting body weight on your arm to remind it how the brain and that body connection is supposed to be firing. Essentially, as humans, if you think about it, we are meant to bear weight in our arms, meaning we push things, we pull things, we hold things. So it's a very natural, innate thing to do to remind that arm, this is weight, this is pressure. Another really cool aspect of weight bearing is that it helps with strengthening. So it helps to not only strengthen the muscle, but the bone when you put weight into it. So let's get started on weight bearing exercises for the shoulder, elbow, and hand. Position number 1 on your side. So for position number 1, you want to have the person sitting unsupported. If you need to, place a pillow or something behind them if they can't sit up on their own. I also bought this gardening pad on Amazon. You want to have a firm surface when you are doing weight bearing so the person can feel the weight rather than something spongy and soft. So you're going to place the person's arm on this pad, and I like to move it out just a little bit. And in order to promote weight, remember you want to put weight on the arm. So for position number 1, you're going to have your first hand on their wrist. I like to put some pressure to remind the wrist of, give it some weight bearing and input. And I'm going to support the shoulder and the elbow. And I'm going to say, okay, so I want you to come down. I'm going to make sure that shoulder doesn't fall in. So I'm going to be right here to support it. Do you feel weight on your arm? Yes. Okay. So once they're in this position, you're going to let them feel it. And you're going to go up, 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 up. And down, and up, 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 and down. Great, and one more time, up, 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 and down. And that's position 1. So position number 2, we're gonna want that pad closer to the person. So I have her again with her elbow on the pad, and I'm gonna have my first hand on her wrist. And what I want to do to promote weight bearing on that side is I want to ask her to take her good arm or hand, and I want her to twist and touch my knee. So stop right here a moment. As you can see, she is twisting and putting all this weight onto this side right here. Great weight bearing. Now I'm going to have her twist and do this a few times. So touch my knee, and I want you to go back and turn your head and touch that pillow. Okay, and I want you to do it again. Twist. And make sure they're turning their head towards you and away. Go ahead. I'm supporting the scapula. I'm supporting the shoulder. I have my hand on her wrist. Go ahead and do it a little bit faster now. Twist and turn your head back. Beautiful. Position number 1 for leaning forward. So for this one, I have the pad next to her, and I have my hand supporting and putting weight through the wrist. So to come forward, you want to have the person, you again kind of want to protect that shoulder. You can have your hand by the elbow, but you want to have them lean forward, and where they're going to feel that weight is right through the back of the tricep or the back of the arm and this wrist. And then you're going to come back, and you just want them to keep going and hold it. You feel that weight in the arm. And one more time. You want to make sure you're being careful as the person's coming forward that they're stable enough where they're not going to fall forward. If you need to, go ahead and sit up. You can always place a chair in front of them, and if you sit in front of them and do it more this way and you watch their wrist, you can kind of protect them from coming forward. And I can show you that as well. A version of the same weight bearing forward, if you're afraid the person's going to fall forward when they're doing this, is to grab some sort of stool or chair. When you sit on it, you're going to take your legs and you're going to kind of support theirs. And you always want to stay on their stroke or weaker side. So I have my hand on her wrist to support, and I'm going to tell her, go ahead and come down. And I still have this hand on her shoulder, and come back and come forward and come back. That way I'm protecting her a little bit more from coming forward. For leaning forward exercise number 2, you're going to have the person sitting unsupported, but again, if you need them to be supported because they're lower level, just place a cushion or a pillow behind them. You're going to have your one hand on their wrist and the second one by their shoulder. And for this exercise, you're going to have them, instead of just coming forward, you're going to have them come across and either touch your knee or pick up something off the ground. So I want you to go ahead and cross forward towards the ground. Good. Come back and cross forward towards the ground and come back. For position 1 for leaning backward, I like to sit on the person's side, and I like to do this on a bed. So for leaning backwards, what you're going to do is you're going to use this gardening pad, and you're going to have your one hand on the wrist like we've been doing for the rest. But this time we want to promote weight backwards. So if I move this gardening pad slightly back, and I'm going to protect the shoulder while we do this, I want you to go ahead and lean back, okay, and then come forward. Now you can use your other arm too, so go ahead and take your other arm and put it in the same, your good arm, put it in the same position. If she's more comfortable to start with 2 arms, you can start with 2 arms. So lean back. As you can see right at this point, I'm supporting her. We're putting weight in the back of the arm and the elbow. And I want you to come forward and lean back and come forward. Position number 2 for backwards weight bearing. So for this one, I like to make sure that that gardening pad is as back far as it can go and as far as the person can tolerate. Again, my first hand is going to be on the wrist to put weight in the wrist, and my second hand is always navigating somewhere between the shoulder and the elbow. So for going backwards, you can use your good arm as well to come back. I want you to come back like you did on your other side as well. And you're just going to, this was weight bearing position 1, right? But for weight bearing position 2, all you're going to do is you're going to support them, and I want you to take your good arm and try to touch my shoulder. So they're going to do the twist, and then you're just going to go back to that same position. Yep, and keep doing it over. Now, if you want to make this harder, you just scoot back and say, okay, reach even farther. Maybe reach for my knee. So try to touch my knee now. So you can see you can kind of grade this exercise to be different variations of difficult or easy. But ultimately, the goal is to support the person back here, their shoulder, so it doesn't collapse in, and to get weight in the back of the arm. And just remember, with any weight-bearing exercise, you always want to make sure that there's no pain involved. So if there is, you just have to adjust. For example, maybe she can't go far as back, but we still try to just get a little bit of weight back there. Let's move on to weight bearing on your side. You can actually weight bear on your side while you're sleeping for 8 hours a night, or however long you're sleeping. And the beauty of that is that you get prolonged weight bearing, meaning we're getting prolonged weight into the weak side where the brain can start to remember and remind the arm and even the leg and the hip how it's supposed to be working. So this is her stroke affected side. So what I would recommend, if you can at night, you want to position them on their side. What you don't want to do is have their arm back like this. You want their arm forward. Just as if you or I were going to sleep on our side, we wouldn't want to sleep like this. You naturally kind of put your arm out like that. So I have her weak arm out like this. I have her neck supported by a pillow. For this hand too, it's okay if the elbow is bent or straight, and if the palm can just rest in any way that's comfortable for them. For the lower half, you can take a pillow and put their knee on a pillow and make sure that that hip feels comfortable as well. So this is just an example of weight bearing on your side. In Module 2, we had talked about sleeping with your resting or soft resting hand splint. So I wanted to show you this while she was sleeping on her side. So if you are able to get to your affected side, you want to put this resting hand splint on, and I definitely would recommend a soft one because you don't want anything to be too hard while you're sleeping. So as you can see, this resting hand splint is going to support her wrist in a neutral position rather than letting it bend down, and it's going to support her fingers to be open, and it's going to make sure that her thumb is in good alignment. So whether this arm ends up laying in whatever position ends up laying in, even if it ends up laying on its side, it's still a nice supported position for the hand, which also has an added benefit of not swelling. So when you let a hand hang, and I'll show you a poor position for sleeping, but if you let an arm or fingers or wrist hang, it can become swollen and tight. So this is where sleeping on your side and using a resting hand splint at night is super beneficial.